We had a terrific match as Steve Vadney came from behind to advance to the championship.
Yeah, a couple of prize fighters slugging it out box by box, but Steve Vadney coming out on top as he did last time against Sean Baker a couple of years ago. But now the toughest obstacle is Rich Clark at the top of the ladder.
Last week it was Vadney beating Sean Baker 395 to 386 with a 165 third string to pull out that win. Let's meet our bowlers this afternoon in the championship match. First, our number 3 seed from Claremont, New Hampshire is Steve Vadney.
Big winner last week over Sean Baker. His average is 122. High single is 197. Steve Vadney's high triple, 488. He's our 3rd seed and bowls at Sunset Lanes in Newport, New Hampshire.
Steve, no stranger to TV, and he'll be meeting a man who is also familiar with the bright lights of television. Our top seed from Bedford, New Hampshire is Rich Clark.
Yeah, we actually saw Rich earlier in the year when he was not successful in one of the earlier ladders, but now he is the top seed and perhaps has a little bit better shot, averaging 123 and 130 at 2 different bowling centers. High single for Rich Clark, 195. High triple is 467. King Lanes in Manchester and Boutwell's in Concord is where he does his bowling.
$1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. The winner advances to the Tournament of Champions, $1,075 in our triple strike jackpot. Let's get right to it. It's the championship match on Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashville. We're back right after this. Leda Lanes in Nashville, New Hampshire. You look at the 5 bowlers that started out 4 weeks ago in contention for a berth in the Tournament of Champions. First week, it was Kevin Davis over Jason Esalonas. Second week, Vadney over Davis. Last week, Vadney over Baker, and it sets up today's match with Steve Vadney taking on top seed Rich Clark, and we're ready to go in our championship match from Leda Lanes. In Nashville, it'll be Steve Vadney, first to bowl here this afternoon. What a finish he had last week.
And needed it.
What a start this week.
Yeah, it's a little bit better start than he had the last 2 weeks when he started with both 110 the last 2 weeks.
Well, he's on pace for a 300.
Yeah, he can certainly jump out with a couple of quick marks right out of the gate.
Missed the spare. And he'll take a 9 box. Now our first look at Rich Clark.
We have seen him a lot in the last year. Tournament of Champions. And an earlier seed this year.
And he answers Steve Vadney's first frame strike with one of his own. Watch it again. 4-pin a little reluctant.
A pretty good Brooklyn hit for young Rich Clark. 36 years old. And a busy guy. He too missing the 2-pin spare leave, as did Steve Vadney in his second frame. He gets the 10, however, and takes a 1-pin lead going into frame number 3. '47-year-old Steve Vadney.
Right in the pocket.
So it's the 5-10. Some rolling wood in front of the 5-pin. He bowled a 165 for his 3rd string last week, getting by Sean Baker, who held the lead for a good part, not most of the match. But a strong close by Vadney brought him to today's title match. This is ladder number 5.
Wow. The 5-pin refused to go. And he'll take a 10 box. A few more cards and letters to read to you during the course of the match. We'll get to them after the first opportunity.
As you mentioned earlier, that our winner today, Dick, goes into the Tournament of Champions. We've got one more spot to fill after today's seeding. Jack Ray, Don Richmond, Gary Santora, and Steve Plant are in the tournament already. It'll either be Steve Vadney or Rich Clark after today's match as our 5th bowler. Rich Clark with a strike and a 10 box going into the 3rd frame. Steve Vadney with 47 through 4. Knocks out the split. It's the 2-4-7.
Not quite able to convert. That'll be a 10 box, maintaining his 1-pin advantage. That's right in the pocket. The 5-pin goes down. Here goes the 7-pin. Second strike of the match for Rich Clark. Almost had the 5-7. But they decided to go. There goes the 5, and the 7 gets tripped up. Here's Vadney. Look at this. Almost had the 4 horsemen, but 3 of the horses decided to take a hike. And a spare for Steve Vadney, taking advantage. That's off the head pin, but he'll put 5 in the spare.
And no wood to help him out. It's the 1, 2, 5, 8, and 9. 1 of the 2 are gone. 5, 8, 9 are still there.
A couple of weeks ago, we mentioned a letter that we got from a viewer as Steve puts a 10 box on the board about Webster Lake. We had talked about Webster Lake a few weeks ago and the Indian name for the lake, and we had someone send us in a spelling which had 37 letters, I believe, and this week we have somebody who sent in a letter with the spelling of Indian Lake that has 49 letters.
Oh my.
And the pronunciation phonetically, you want to give it a shot?
No.
Rich has a 9 in the strike. Char gog gog gog, man char gog gagog, chabuna gunga mog. 49 letters.
Could you take this breathalyzer test, please, sir?
No, that's not what it means.
Oh.
You fish on your side, I'll fish on my side, and nobody will fish in the middle. Four horsemen right side for Rich Clark. That's sent in, by the way, by Marie Kilmer from Rentham, Massachusetts. Marie, thank you very much. As Rich Clark almost converts the 4 horsemen. Our mailing address is WNDS TV 50 Television Place, Derry, New Hampshire 03038. And we'd love to hear from you as Rich Clark picks up a 10 box. Back-to-back 10 boxes. A 5-pin lead for Rich Clark. John Slow from Medford sent in a copy of a newspaper clipping, but John doesn't identify from where the clipping came.
And it doesn't say anywhere on the actual photocopy.
And it's entitled Primer, or Primer. And the author is Susan Orlean, and it's a story of Candlepin bowling. It's a few years old, because it talks about the Channel 5 show being 27 years old.
Oh, so that would have been about 1984 or 5.
but it defines bowling. It talks about the evolution of bowling, and especially the success on the old Channel 5 show, Fun for All Ages, which began, I'm told, with Fred Hoy for a short while before Jim Britt took it over, and then Don Gillis, then Ed Harding and Brian Leary and a cast of thousands. Then Bob Foraker had a show on Channel 27 many years ago, and a couple more open frames for Steve Vadney.
He was kind of settled down after that strike in the first frame.
And Doug Brown and Mike Murphy, Dan Murphy did the show on this station for
13 years,
10,
right?
12 years, something like that, whatever, and did a great job with it. And we are carrying the torch. And Rich Clark puts a spare on the board.
Rich Clark bowled in the Candlepin Bowling World Championship, of course, back in November. They have a singles knockout before the team events, and he actually finished second, winning $1,100, beating Al Joy, then going on to beat Mike McIntosh, and then Bob Whitcomb, who we saw on the show last year, ultimately losing in the title match to Tony White from Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. Anyway, congratulations to Rich. Second prize for $1,100. The world's best Candlepin bowlers gathering in Canada last November.
Rich puts 8 in the spare, and he's opened up a little bit of a lead here in the first string, 14 pins. And he's not able to make it 2 in a row.
I don't imagine Rich brought any of that famous Clark Farm corn here in the dead of winter.
We were talking about it before the broadcast. Last time he brought it, our crew absconded with it all. We got none of it.
We didn't get to taste it. No.
Here's Vadney in the 9th. Well, whenever you have a crew of television technicians and food, you're in big trouble. Vadney unable to convert.
That's why the Kahala works so well for us.
It's an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Unlimited amounts of food.
10 box for Steve Vadney. 101.
Is there any chance he's going to throw a 9 here and have 110 for the 3rd straight week for his opening game? Starting slowly, but then he suddenly becomes an incredible
Rich Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty good shot at making this a spare. See if he can get about a 120 or so out of this one.
It's a spare. He'll have 111 plus a ball.
.404 and .395 the last 2 weeks for Steve Vadney, averaging 133.
There they go. They still fall. It's an 8 and a 119 first string for Steve Vadney.
And that's an improvement over the last 2 weeks. Yeah, there's the infamous sliding 4-pin. This should go down pretty easily.
Rich with another mark. That's his 4th mark of the string.
It's the 1 and the 2. Picks this up. He's looking at maybe a 140 game. Not to be.
Nice note sent in by Dee Boyer of Nashua, New Hampshire, asking if we're going to bring the skins game back
That
to
is
WNDS.
a often asked question.
132 for Rich Clark and a 13-pin lead after 1 in this championship match on WNDS TV from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire. We return after this brief break with the winner advancing to the Tournament of Champions. Don't go away. Ready to go with the second string of our championship match here. Rich Clark ready to lead it off at Leda Lanes on lane 34. Rich is getting his balls ready to go, and we're ready to go with the second string, the middle string, as Rich loosens up.
A few deep knee bends after a 3 or 4 minute commercial break. Got to limber up.
I guess he loosened up in a big hurry, didn't he?
Everything goes except the 10 pin. 13 pin lead starting this game for Rich Clark.
And he starts out with a spare.
Rich would like to make the Tournament of Champions 2 consecutive years. Last year he was seeded number 7, losing to Hawk Hallis. The broadcast that ran on the 10th of May. It was a very good year for Rich Clark. He also finished 4th in the Easter tournament right here at Leda Lanes. We're going to tell you about that here for this year's tournament, give you the date and times here in just a few moments.
And a 10 box for Rich. And he'll start out with a 25 in the first 2 boxes of the second string. Steve Vadney steps to the line. Steve. Is a senior lead person for Sturm Ruger in Newport. Lists as his hobbies horseshoe, softball, classic cars. And we talked about that last week, Michael, that he owns a 1966 Mustang. And you owned a 1967 at one time.
I did, and it had more rust than any car I've ever seen in my life. It was a mess.
You're supposed to wash it every once in a while, Mike.
I'm not very good at car maintenance, I have to admit. It's actually the car that I learned how to drive a standard transmission with. But when you live in Detroit, there aren't many hills, so that wasn't much of a problem like it is around here. I tried to teach my daughter a couple of years ago.
Steve just turned and walked away from that one. He knew that he had thrown one where he didn't want it to go. And he ends up with a half Worcester. That was better. Steve waiting for the wood to settle. And he'll take a 10 box. 2 10s for Steve Vadney. After the break coming up, we're going to tell you about a letter we got inquiring about 2 of our regulars here at Leda Lanes who have been following Candlepin bowling for a long, long time. Here's a strike for Rich Clark. And if you've been watching Candlepin Stars and Strikes, you've seen these faces for many, many years. Here's the strike thrown by Rich Clark just a moment ago. $1,075 is in the triple strike jackpot. And Rich missed the head pin and an opportunity to get number 2.
One of those pins has kind of a strange lean to it. And he was hoping that maybe it would start falling.
An accordion.
Yes. The domino theory did not work this time.
Head pin is key. Missed the head pin. Tries to come to the back door. Can't do it. And a 7 box for Rich Clark.
Nice opportunity for Steve Vadney now, who's got a pair of 10s starting this middle string.
Rich Clark with 2 marks, but the Phils with only a 5 and a 7. Vadney on the head pin.
Hoping that that pin rolls back.
Yeah, it took a little bit of a turn. Not a factor.
Still 3 of them left, the 2, 7, and the 8.
And that'll be a 7 box. So after Rich Clark throws the 7, Steve Vadney returns the favor. Very unusual for these outstanding bowlers to take such small counts. He follows up with one right in the pocket. The 7-pin obliges. The 6-pin remains with plenty of wood. I dare say Mike Moran could make this shot.
Appreciate the confidence, Dick.
Say you could make this shot. Not necessarily that you would make the shot. Spare for Vadney in the 4th. We'll take a break. That's the championship match of this 5th ladder series on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. We're back right after this. The gentleman on your left is Arthur Turlemezian from Belmont, Massachusetts, and the young lady to his left, on your right as you look, is Irene McGowan from Lynn, Massachusetts. Arthur's been watching bowling for more than 40 years, attending the broadcasts and telecasts from Boston since they began in Boston, and Irene, for more than 20 years, has been following the telecast. That's in response to a letter sent in by Ken Person, who wanted to know who the distinguished-looking gentleman with a white beard, a goatee maybe, and the attractive, well-dressed lady sitting next to him were. And Ken, there is your answer. And those are two of the great fans who come to our telecast week after week on WNDS TV here at Leda Lanes, and we love having them with us.
Yeah, nice hand for
applause.
Arthur and Irene.
Here for Arthur and Irene, well known to all of you viewers.
When I used to see him on TV before, I even knew we'd be doing this, he reminded me of a guy who used to be a noted expert on flying saucers, Dr. J. Allen Hynek. And every time I saw him, I said, I wonder if that guy is into flying saucers. He looks just like this doctor. He was very well known.
Michael, are you into flying saucers?
There was a time during college for a few years. I think I was.
I'll be taking open auditions for analysts starting next week. Rich Clark with a 9-pin drop, waiting for the wood to settle. With his left-handed angle, should be no problem. No problem for Rich Clark. 3rd mark of the 2nd string for Rich.
Rich Clark, 4th place in the Easter tournament here at Leda Lanes. Folks, if you want to watch a high concentration of the best Candlepin bowlers as we watch Rich Clark nail a strike, you want to come to Leda Lanes on Easter Sunday if you can talk your family into letting you get away for a little while. $11,000 roughly, first prize. It's a 20-string tournament open to 102 bowlers.
Now Steve Vadney puts a deuce in his spare. Didn't need to do that on top of the Rich Clark strike, the double mark. Almost makes the spare.
Also want to point out, if you'd like to bowl in the tournament, chances are if you're a professional, you already know about it, but if you'd like to give it a shot, you want to get in touch with Leda Lanes. And the phone number here is area code 603-889-4884. Tell them you want to bowl in the Easter Sunday Classic. Last year, $11,000 first prize.
Will that 4-pin go? It continues to rock. Watch out. Will that wood grab it going by? It's not going to touch it. It keeps on rolling out of the way.
Nice clean shot, which is, I think, how most of the bowlers prefer their spare leaves.
That's the 6-pin, and it's gone. Good recovery by Steve Vadney after getting a 2 on his spare to get another mark, his 2nd mark of the string. Now Rich Clark works on a double mark. He has a strike in the 6th frame. He has 2 strikes. And this shot is worth $1,075 for Rich Clark. Watch it again. That's number 2. Now he's ready for a try for $1,075. You watch. On the head pin. Little thin hit.
How the heck do you hit that and leave 4 pins standing? That was a great try. It's the 5, 7, 8, and 10 for Rich Clark.
Well, Rich thought he had a shot at it.
piling up the pins after earning some bonus money on that second strike.
Yeah, that was a $50 shot.
Yep.
And a 10 box, and a little bit of a thrill for the crowd here as Rich put that third ball right on the money, right on the head pin.
Now this is about the point where Steve Vadney usually starts catching fire.
And he's going to have to. He's on the head pin too, but look what he leaves. Almost the entire back line. No, he punched it straight through. Well, Rich Clark is building up a substantial lead. Steve Vadney really needs to mark here. He's up against an open frame. Right in the pocket and a strike.
What a smooth delivery that was. Nice follow through, smooth release.
And very important.
Critically important. Little kiss on the bottom of the 5 pin, tips it forward.
Now Rich Clark with that look of determination. On the head pin, but a split stares back at him. Look at that shot by Rich Clark. Perfectly placed. A brilliant spare by Rich Clark. Watch it again. Couldn't have done it any better. And a half Worcester.
The big letdown after a beautiful shot like that. Just a 2 fill. Very difficult spare. Well, that's a bit of a door opener for Steve Vadney, who has got to take it off the sheet this game with marks to come anywhere close for the third game.
He is at 140 right now. 141 for Rich Clark.
And of course, total pinfall is very critical to both these bowlers because the better they score, the higher the seed in the Tournament of Champions. Tough to tell which wood to use here. I guess you, well, do you go to the far left or do you use that wood up closest and hoping that it ricochets, taking out the 4 and then the 10?
There it is.
Nicely done.
Great shot. Steve Vadney bouncing right back.
He could actually win this game. Needs actually a double strike, though, to win outright.
In the pocket. $50 shot coming here. Got it.
Well, the last 2 weeks, Steve has averaged in his second string 130, and he's very close to doing that again today with an 8-pin fill. But he'll need a big game in the third because Rich Clark shows no signs of letting up.
Look at this fill for Steve Vadney. 9 pins and a strong finish to a 131 second string and keeping it close. A 23-pin margin for Rich Clark. Not insurmountable by any means as we go to the third and final string of this championship match on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Ready to go. Steve Vadney will be the first to bowl in the third string. Steve trailing in the match by 23 pins. In our championship match, the winner advancing to the Tournament of Champions at the end of the season. Vadney on the head pin to start out. $1,000 to the winner, $500 to the runner-up here this afternoon. But also to the winner of that berth in that postseason Tournament of Champions. Steve Vadney starts with a spare.
Well, you asked him last week at the end of the show about drawing on all that television experience and keeping his nerves steady, and it's got to be an advantage to have bowled this many years over 300 strings on TV.
Almost a half Worcester plus. 3 pins fill the spare.
Oops.
Right through the hole. And he'll finish with an 8. A letter from Ernest Roberts of Spencer, Massachusetts. And he sent along a league stat sheet from 1926-27. And it's from the Worcester area. During his bowling at the YMCA in Worcester, he met a Mr. Muncie who started or invented candlepin bowling.
That's right. In 1880. Would have been a pretty old guy by the late 1920s. I'm not sure when he passed away.
He's enclosing a copy of this schedule. He thinks he's the oldest league in the country that has a record this long. He started in 1933 and bowled in the league every year since then.
Wow.
Mr. Roberts, thank you very much for your letter and for the accompanying schedule and memorabilia. Really appreciate it. Rich Clark starting out the 3rd string with a spare and an 8. Two marks in a row to start the 3rd string for Rich Clark. The top seed has the lead with 8 boxes remaining.
They have a listing of the rules from this 1926-27 league. Rule number 1 reads, league matches are scheduled to commence promptly at 8 p.m. Don't keep a match waiting for you.
Good rule.
So there.
Vadney with the shot. Steve Vadney. Same shot Rich Clark made in the 2nd string. Vadney does it without the wood.
I'm going to correct that score for you, folks.
Threw that one away. And that'll be a 7 box. What were the averages in that league? It didn't have some of the scores.
Yeah, they did have a few.
Rich Clark right through, spread eagle +1. Puts 3 in the spare.
Yeah, some of the averages, individual high string 140, and that went back to the 1916-1917 season. But on the current roster, averages primarily in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I don't see anything over about a 90 average.
8 box for Rich. He adds 2 pins to his lead, and he's up against an open frame in the 4th box. Steve Vadney put a 7 on the board.
I see a D. Lutz here with an 82 average.
That's this year.
Get some great stuff in the mail from you guys. Thank you so much for some old bowling memorabilia. I don't know where you're finding this stuff, but it makes for interesting perusal.
Clark on the head pin, can't make the spare. If you'd like to write to us, we'd like to hear from you. The address, WNDS TV, 50 Television Place, Derry, New Hampshire, 03038. And 8 box for Rich Clark as we go to the break. Clark adds 3 pins to his lead. He leads by 26 pins. 6 boxes remain. in this championship match on Candlepin Stars and Strikes from Leda Lanes in Nashua, New Hampshire on WNDS TV. We're right back after this. Steve Vadney ready to go. Lane 34. Leda Lanes, Nashua, New Hampshire. Dick Lutzk, Mike Morin. Our entire WNDS TV 50 crew here for this championship match. Vadney trailing by 26 pins. Almost got a strike. $1,075 in the triple strike jackpot. Rich Clark had a run at it earlier in the match. 2 strikes in a row. In the 3rd frame, he was right on the head pin, but couldn't get a break. Vadney spare. He capped that deadwood and managed to get the spare. Steve needs to put a few marks together to put some pressure on Rich Clark.
His 3rd string last week was 165.
He's right on the head pin that time. Can't break up the split. And the wood does not appear to be a factor.
Not at all helpful. 60.5 for Steve Vadney. His 3rd week on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Beating Kevin Davis and Sean Baker.
$10. You know, roll-offs are ongoing at Leda Lanes. Mike talked about the Easter Sunday tournament, but roll-offs are ongoing, and if you'd like to participate, give Leda Lanes a call in Nashua, New Hampshire. Talk to Ray Simoneau, Sean Howard, or any of the people here. They'll be happy to help you out and give you the information. The phone number is 603-889-4884. 603-889-4884. Find out when the next roll-off is and take a shot at it, and maybe you'll see yourself on one of our future telecasts on WNDS TV. They do a great job at Leda Lanes, accommodating the great crowds that come to our taping sessions every month. Rich Clark with a 6-box in the 5th frame. Box to box, Steve Vadney's picked up 17 pins.
After his first 2 frames, he's cooled down. Steve Vadney getting a few pins back, but with only 4 frames to go, Vadney's got to put on the afterburners here.
Well, Clark misses the spare, or does he? No, he does not.
Oh, man.
Now, they say in baseball that goes down in the scorebook as a line drive.
And the ball, actually, I didn't realize it.
Ball came back.
Hit the 6, which then took out the 3. Missed it the first time around.
That's a line drive in the box score tomorrow morning.
Right you are.
Vadney looks for the spare, can't convert.
And that was a demoralizer for Steve, because it appeared as though he was going to have a shot at getting a lot more pins back than he actually did.
Another 10-box for Steve Vadney. And this one is slowly slipping away. In the pocket. Thin hit. Here comes some wood to help out.
Yeah, running out of frames for Steve Vadney.
Got to play the wood to the right. Nope, didn't play it that way. Played it head on and took the spare.
These bowlers know never to listen to us, Dick, when they make their shots.
Well, Vadney alive, but barely. Rich Clark working on a mark.
Rich Clark losing earlier this season in an earlier ladder to Gary Santora. He started seeded 5th, worked his way up to final match, losing to Gary Santora, who is in the Tournament of Champions, seed number 3 at this point.
Which is a consideration as you look at the scores right now.
Certainly is.
Nice spare for Rich Clark. 4 horsemen on the right side of the 7-pin.
Well, if Rich can pull in a 131 game, he could end up in the second seed so far.
He's right on the head pin.
Very much in the realm of possibility. 135 would make him the top seed over Jack Ray, who has 407 as of this moment.
Another spare $50 in additional bonus money for Rich Clark. He has 100 in the match now. Steve Vadney has $50 in bonus money in the bank this week. Steve's working on a spare in the 8th frame.
$1,000 to our winner today, $500 to our runner-up.
The 10 pin's still there.
And that will just about do it, I think.
$107.
137 is the best he could do, which would be $392. $394. But that won't happen now.
And he'll not make that spare, and that will just about do it. That will do it. He finishes with a 116, a 366. Rich Clark already has 370. So this match is over. Now we'll just wait to see how Rich Clark finishes out.
Right now it's strictly for positioning in the Tournament of Champions. The higher the better. He was 7th seed last year. That's a lot of work to do to get up to the top.
And there's a strike. Another $20 in bonus money.
Tell you what, he's going to end up being the top seed. He throws a mark here.
Watch it again.
Could be in the 140s.
Buries it in there. Now you start rooting for the triple strike. Can he put it right in the pocket? He'll not get the triple strike, but he's still alive for more bonus money.
Pinfall is everything here for seeding.
He's not trying to rub Steve Vadney's face in anything. He's just trying to get himself a better spot in the Tournament of Champions. He played it to the left side.
He hurt himself there for total pins going on that side.
That's why he did it.
Well, that does give him second seed, but had he gone the other way, perhaps he could have come in number 1.
Finishes with a 133 and a 406 triple. We'll come back to meet our bowlers. Rich Clark beating Steve Vadney 406 to 366. We're back right after this on Candlepin Stars and Strikes on WNDS TV. Rich Clark advances to the Tournament of Champions, having defeated Steve Vadney. The final score 406 to 366 here this afternoon at Leda Lanes. And let's bring up our runner-up this afternoon, Steve Vadney from Claremont, New Hampshire. Steve, congratulations to you. Here's a check for $500. We have $50 in bonus money as well, and a good 3-week run for you, and couldn't quite find the groove this week that you had the last couple of weeks.
Well, too many low fills on spares, 2 fills, 3 fills, punches. And double strike Rich through in the second game was a turning point of the match. You know, he picked up about 20 pins there, and going into the third game, that was, you know, the story.
Let me ask you this, and when a bowler like Rich bowls a double strike, and you know there's $1,000 on the line for him, and you're his competitor sitting behind, are you rooting for him to make that $1,000?
Oh yeah, I was rooting for him. It doesn't get hit that often, and we have pretty good camaraderie of bowlers among us, and I think everybody roots for him at that point.
Well, I'm sure we'll see you back again soon. Steve Vadney, thanks very much. Congratulations to you.
Bye.
Steve Vadney from Claremont, our runner-up here this afternoon. Now Rich Clark from Bedford will bowl a bonus ball, and we'll see if we can match it up with a winner from home. The crowd is urging him on. 7, 6, 5. They're yelling. You hear the numbers.
We got a bingo game going out.
And it is
9,
a
huh?
9.
Okay.
I don't think I heard 1 9 from the crowd. Let's see if we can draw out a winner. Mike Moran reaches into the bucket and pulls out a card. And let's see if I can find the number. There's the number, and it is
5.
I see. I'm just trying to read the name.
Oh.
Harry Buwani from Merrimack, New Hampshire,
picked 5, and it's a consolation
Henry,
prize
what's wrong
for
with you?
Henry.
5. Oh, there's
He
9.
doesn't know Rich. Here's the 9 on the second one, and it doesn't count, though. And unfortunately, Marie Grenier from Manchester will win 10 free strings of bowling here at Leda Lane. We'll bring Rich Clark in. We will hand him a check for $1,000, also $120 in bonus money, and a berth in the Tournament of Champions, and this time seated second. Last time you were in the Tournament of Champions, you had a longer ladder to climb.
Yeah, it's much better. I knew I was on the bubble on the last box, and I actually tried to get the spare, taking the wood out of the gutter, and then go for the 10 box, but I didn't want to cap. But I'm happy with the win first, and you know, 400 certainly makes it nice and puts me in a good position.
You're talking about your practicing over the last couple of weeks. What have you been doing to get ready for an event such as this?
Well, just trying to get my legs in condition and just work on my mechanics. You know, I had a pretty good first ball for the most part, and I missed an awful lot of two-pinners, and if my first ball wasn't so good, maybe I didn't have so many to shoot at, and I wouldn't be standing here right now.
Well, as of right now, you're the second seed in the Tournament of Champions. One more ladder series to go, so we'll look forward to seeing you in the Tournament of Champions at the end of the year. Rich Clark from Bedford, New Hampshire, our winner, and a berth in the Tournament of Champions for Rich coming up in a few weeks.
Let's run the list down. Jackie Ray is number 1. Number 2 now is Rich Clark.